But for women, there are multiple perspectives that we have to take into account when teaching them how to be assertive. So one of the things that we believe is that look at women-focused leadership interventions, which will help them understand themselves better and help them understand where they need to work and support them in that journey. It's not like you give them something, you give them a piece of information and they automatically the switch doesn't come. You need to gently nudge them, push them, you need to support them, you need to have a mentor. So all this needs to happen.
Everyone, I'm Jitendra Singh. I welcome you to Read My Story, where I interview authors, speakers, coaches, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and more. Today, I have with me Miss Aditi Radhakrishnan. She is the founder, principal consultant, and coach of Mitara Consulting Services, supporting organizations to manage change, growth, and leadership challenges. She also co-owns a franchise of Storytrails, a walking tour that gives you an experience of Trivandrum city. She is a life member of We Women, Inclusive in Technology, and until recently a governing council member. She is a mentor at Prayaana, a contributor to HR Pros and Learning Vertical Chair at Young Indians. She now is the state chair for coaching and training at G100. In her corporate stint, she has held a senior management role in the British MNC Indian entity. She has also had a considerable stint in Honeywell, Bangalore. Travel books and conversations enthuse her. She delivers many sessions for school, colleges, and organizations on different topics. Today she will be discussing with us about her life journey. So welcome Aditi, the platform is open and now over to you.
Wonderful to be here on this platform, and I look forward to having this interaction and this conversation with you. There are so many things that I feel we have common between us, and I can also learn in the process. So thank you so much.
Definitely, and it will be a pleasure to have you. So first thing I'd like to know from you is how did your past life has affected the person who you wanted to be in your life and what you are?
Interesting question. So I think my past life has given me a lot of tools and opportunities to be the person I am. It has given me confidence to be the person I am. A lot of exposure to different cultures, different people at a very young age. So we are from Kerala, but my dad was working in Air India Bombay, so I was naturally studying in Bombay till my 6th grade, actually 5th standard, and that's when my dad decided to move to Malaysia, a Southeast Asian country, and this was way back in '89. So Malaysia was also not that well known, but it was still fascinating to be in a place like that and understand how development can happen in a country like that. And Malaysia at that time was underpopulated, so they were actually subsidizing for the 6th child in Malaysia. So there was a lot of migrant population, so a lot of people from India had moved to Malaysia. I was studying in an international school, so I got exposed to people from Africa, Australia, things like that, and of course some of my teachers were also from abroad. So it was a wonderful experience, and after that I came back to Kerala, my native place, and did my graduation here, which gave me a very different perspective of how politics can happen in college and things like that. It was interesting. Post-graduation in Bombay and Delhi, and first year of my work life was based out of Bombay, but actually I was traveling there even then. So I think somewhere the theme was I'm an adventure seeker, so I was continuously getting all those adventures. So yeah, from there on my career took off and had a wonderful stint. So I think my past life has given me confidence and has given me a lot of exposure to different thoughts, different ways of how people live. That has defined who I am. I'm extremely tolerant as a person. I think I accept a lot of different people in my life. I love the variety, and that possibly made me an HR person as well.
Great. So you always had a thought to be a HR professional, or that was kind of journey you were passing through that made you look into this field?
Yeah, so there's a word in Malayalam saying nimitta. So sometimes some things just happen at the right time. I never thought of HR as an occupation when I was young. I mean, I was fairly not. I didn't have that exposure, I must say. It was during my BCom days. In fact, my final year of BCom, we were on a college tour, and I had actually taken the tax stream because somehow in my mind I was thinking I'd go into the finance field.
Okay.
So I had taken the tax stream, and there was a professor from the management field who was also in the tour, and I was standing on the bus steps, and he was sitting, opposite me, and he casually asked me, "What are your next plans?" And I said, I'm not quite sure. So he said, "Take HR. That's the right place for you." So actually HR happened because he found something in me at that point of time and guided me, or he was the messenger to tell me that I should take up HR. But I've not regretted it even once.
Right.
I love being in HR. It's a profession that gets a lot of rap. A lot of people say bad things about HR, but I think I've been able to change. The organizations where I've worked in, thankfully, we've had very good support from management and very good support from employees. So there, we've had good interactions and good HR mindset.
Right.
So HR has not really been a journey, but possibly yes, as a person, it was there in me to be in HR. It was just that the right person found it and told me at the right time.
True, that happens. So if I talk about things you are passionate about in your life, what are those things?
Reading books, as you can see, there are a lot of books behind me, and so I love books. I keep reading. Travel, and especially with my family, so we love to travel and explore new things, new places, and I love meeting new people. So that is, I think, a common thread, that meet new people, get to know them, understand their stories. And now, recently, in the last 4 years, history has started taking a place in my life.
And I have seen these days people are taking interest in history.
Yeah, for me it happened again because of my Storytrails venture. So till then I didn't have enough exposure to history, or I did not take it as seriously. But since this venture is all about finding stories that are relevant to our current, from our past, I'm now quite interested in history.
Right, and that is the way you can explore your culture. I think it's wonderful experience also, exploring culture, understanding things from past, how people used to live, how people used to do things then and now. So it could be a great comparison as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So if I talk about your work and experiences, like how you started your career, what all you did so far, and what you are doing now.
So I started my work in a pharma company it was a family-run business, pharma company in Bombay, and I had it was a well-established company, but due to certain reasons, they were going through a lot of changes, and we were freshly appointed, 3 HR, and I was given the regions UP, MP, Bihar, West Bengal as a regional HR. So that was my first role. So I had to travel, meet pharma medical representatives, and travel with them, go to the doctors and things like that. So it started as a regional HR role, so kind of a business partner role. Starting to understand what based on the change that the organization is going through, what do we need to do for the frontline employees, because they are the face of the organization. So a lot of project work I did on creating entrepreneurial spirit in the medical representatives. So that was kind of my first role, and then I moved to a recruitment firm for a couple of months, and then I moved into Honeywell, where I started off as an intern, then moved into I was, as an intern, I was associated with the People Capability Maturity Model initiative. So when we were going for a certification, and we had to put systems in place for that. Then we did, our Gallup assessment, employee engagement surveys. So if you look, the first part of my career was all about experimenting with different sorts of change and sorts of cultural aspects of how companies work and how employees can benefit also in the process. In Honeywell, we had kind of visionary leader. So there was a lot of new things that kept coming. So it wasn't like, you do one thing and it's over.
Correct.
One thing is over, then the next concept will come. So we had, how to implement a production system into a place like Honeywell. So we called it the Honeywell operating system. Then we had talent strategy, how to create a talent strategy. Something similar to what GE was already doing, but more attuned to what Honeywell required. So it was all about learning concepts and seeing how to implement it in organizations. And in Honeywell, it is a large organization. So it's not like, you just talk to two people and it gets done. You have to really explain, sell your concept, you have to socialize it, you have to pilot it, you have to show how it works, and then roll it out for the entire organization. So there were a lot of opportunities to do a lot of organization development initiatives. So interestingly, my role was in Honeywell, I was part of the OD team initially, the competency development team. Then I moved into a business partner HR role. Then I moved back into OD. But in all this, I had freedom to try different interventions. So it wasn't that I wasn't allowed, I didn't have exposure to recruitment or anything like that. So I was also helping the recruitment team. So in that short stint, long stint in Honeywell, I got exposure to all HR aspects and of course change and culture as a theme. So when I applied to move out of Bangalore, one of the roles that I applied to was for the HR manager role in a multinational company. So it was like end-to-end HR.
Okay.
And I got that role, I think primarily because I had exposure to all HR functions.
Multiple tasks.
So multiple areas. So that helped me get that role. And after I got that role, I realized how vast that role is, because it was also part of the senior management team. And that time the organization was only 200 folks, but within a year there was a massive push to grow the organization in India, and all based out of Trivandrum, which is comparatively a small city. But it was a wonderful challenge. So again, we had to change a lot of the systems, culture, to get people to adapt to this higher responsibility, because people were in the organization, they were used to someone giving them instructions and they're just doing it. And the change required was they had to lead from the front. They had to start asking for changes. So that was a big cultural shift. Anyway, I had a great run in that organization, 10 years, and we grew to 750 by the time I left, and we were nearly 25% of the MNC, which is rare. Usually MNCs always have a captive unit, which is usually less than 10% of their entire size.
Correct.
But we were doing so well that they were willing to give us those responsibilities. And at that point of time, I decided to branch off and start something on my own, and that's now 5 years. I have been running my own consulting called Mitara. Mitara means magic, because I believe that if you really have a good intention, you can actually do magical stuff when it comes to people's culture, the organization's culture, and ensuring that everyone benefits in the process.
Right.
So that kind of sums up where I have reached and what I enjoy doing. So I work with a lot of small and medium scale organizations that have ambition to grow. So these are not organizations that are setting up. These are organizations that have set up, but they want to change. They have a lot of opportunity, but the people function needs to also undergo that change.
Correct.
So the running theme is change, culture, that sort of thing.
So now you are working more closely with MSME segment.
Mostly, yes. I work with entrepreneurs and I work with MSME startups. I'm working with a family business which has been established, which is 60 years old, but they are undergoing a transformation. They want to professionalize their entire setup. They want to bring in probably external unit heads and things like that. So,
right. That is the only way these organizations can grow, because I also, being a banker, meet MSME segment people like owners, their finance teams. So I also saw those kind of problems in these organizations, that people who are owners running all the operations, like all the major positions, and that is very difficult for them to manage everything. So moving on to the next one, if I talk about your vision, mission and goal in life for next 5 to 10 years from now, so what that would be?
So I'm a duality. So I'm quite ambitious, but not ambitious to have, that I must be on the top list, or, I'm not seeking number one, 10 in 10 or whatever. Or that's not my vision. My vision is always to be able to support and enable people with dreams. So I get really excited when I listen to entrepreneurs with their dreams, and I want to
Right.
help them. So that's kind of my goal: enable others to achieve their dreams. And this ties in with both my advisory activities, the HR advisory, and my coaching practice. So I also do a lot of individual and leadership coaching, and it's important for people to understand where their dreams are, what they have to do towards that. A lot of people don't spend time on it. So my vision is to enable people to achieve their dreams.
That's really wonderful. Like supporting others is also one big thing, and you are working onto it. That is wonderful. And you are also like part of one like travel organization. So what is the objective behind that?
There's no planned objective. So I had gone for one of their trails in Chennai a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2016 or 2017, where I had been a guest on their trail in Chennai. And I was fascinated with the concept that you could tell stories about your past and get people to actually question, everyday things. So we have taken our culture for granted, our own heritage for granted. We don't realize why we do certain things, or what's the history behind it. And why it is important is, if we don't know that, we often don't pass it on. So if I don't know why I'm doing certain things, I will not tell my children, the significance of that activity or the significance of that act. So it's very important that on. So I was fascinated as a guest, and I was just jokingly telling them that, you should come to Trivandrum, we have opportunities here, you should set up here and all that. And that time they said, yeah, we're looking for franchise partners. If somebody is willing to set up in Trivandrum, we can look at it. So that time I was in a corporate job, so I naturally did not think of becoming a franchise partner. But when I resigned from my job, honestly, at that time I had no mission statements. I just knew that I needed to do something different. So that is a time I realized that this Storytrails might be interested in starting a Trivandrum franchise. So I sent them a one-liner, Trivandrum, ? Are you interested to open a franchise? And I got back a 4-paragraph email saying they're thoroughly interested and they would love to partner. And the discussions began. So it started through an intuition that maybe this is something interesting for me to do.
Right.
But at this point of time, it is something that a lot of my friends are also encouraging me, because they've come on the trail and they've realized that how important it is, and they are people who've lived in this city for so long and they don't know so many things.
Correct.
So they are all encouraging me, saying that let's take it to the next level, let's get more people to experience the trail. So this is where it is. Of course, during COVID we had to shut down, but things are picking up again. A lot of tourism is picking up in Kerala. So fingers crossed, we're going to do very well. We're going to have more than one trail. Right now we have one trail which is surrounding the richest temple in the world, Padmanath Swami Temple, and we are planning to start a couple of more trails.
Great, that's wonderful. So if I talk about the most important life lessons you have learned from your personal and professional journey so far, so what are those things?
So as a coach, you get a lot of opportunity to sit and reflect, because when you tell your clients to sit and reflect, you should also have done it yourself. So because of that, I think for me, two things stand out. One is taking that leap, just trying things out without getting overwhelmed by, oh my God, will it work? How will I do it? And things like that. If throughout my life, I've of course had support from family to do this, but it's also inherently I'm a person who will go and jump at something new. So be it my first job in a pharma company, going to places I've never been before, or be it my the last corporate stint. When I applied for that role, the job description, their ad said they wanted somebody with 12 to 15 years experience. I
Okay.
had 6 years experience. I still applied and I got the job. So taking that leap, trusting yourself, taking that leap, or even the Storytrails franchise, just try it out, see what happens. If it doesn't work, and there are instances when things don't work, you will be able to cut your losses, learn from it, and move on. So that is one. Second most important thing is networking. I didn't realize the importance of this for a long time, but in the last 5 years, this is the only thing I would say that has given me a lot more success than anything else, because I've been connected to people across industries, across functions, across levels. So the moment somebody comes to me for something, or I need something, I know who to contact. Either they will help me or they will be able to give me the right person. So these are my two corporate-ish lessons from my life.
That's wonderful. Anything from your personal experience so far?
Personal, so I have realized over the last 5 years especially that I am actually quite privileged. And privileged meaning I have a lot of support, I have a lot of opportunities to explore new things, to learn. I have mentors whom I can approach. So that privilege means that I should be also passing it on to others. I should help people who are stuck, who are not having that privilege. And for me, one of the things that came across is as a woman leader, I didn't realize how privileged I was. I used to think, what is the big deal? Everybody gets the same opportunity. You just apply and you get it. That's it. But I realized actually, there are a lot of things that a lot of women have, and they struggle with it. So that's why, for me, that is a lesson from my personal life, that I have that opportunity, but I must try and help others who don't have.
That's correct. Opportunities are there, definitely, but that also depends on who are getting it. Timing is also important, and some people get the right opportunity at the right time, some don't get. And networking, you rightly pointed out, networking is the big thing, and that is really important in like job also, and in business also. Business, it is more important as compared to job, but job also, these days people are getting jobs on the basis of network they have. So that is one big thing people should understand. Networking helps them in job as well as in business both. So we are talking about women leaders these days a lot, but we see very few leaders are women. And what could be the reason for such a low numbers?
There are two aspects discussed. One is, of course, for a long time till recently, there was something called the how leadership was perceived, right? So if you ask just anybody how to describe leadership, they would always have, unfortunately, very masculine traits that they would look for.
Correct.
And this automatically meant that women fell off the radar. They were not considered for leadership. But this argument was relevant till about 5 years ago. I think over the last couple of years, people have started realizing that there's no such set thing that a leader has to be with those kind of traits. What we need from leadership actually now is a much broader skill set. So we also need empathy, which fortunately women seem to have a lot more reserve of. It's not that men don't have, but women are naturally attuned towards that. So the argument that women leaders were not being considered for these roles, one part of it was, of course, that people used to perceive leadership in a particular way. That has been changing. So society, from how corporates started doing leadership, that has been changing. Part of it has got to do with how role models, there have been good role models, right? So there have been good leaders of large organizations who have been women who have done a great job. And then people start realizing, actually these traits are also important. So part of that story is on that aspect, how people select leaders is one part. But I'm more interested in the individual aspect. Why women don't apply for these roles, and also why they don't get selected because of their own internal dialogues, their own internal mindsets, beliefs, things like that. So in that area, because I've been working with this group called Women Inclusive in Technology for the last 5 years, we've been trying to understand this better, because this group is a group of people group of women who are already leaders in different areas. So either they are leading a business unit, or they are running their own business, or they're leading a function, or people like me who are entrepreneurs and trying to do something. So we try started understanding this, and we realized that there are mindset elements and there are skill set elements also. Now, the skill set, even though the skill set may be common for men and women to apply for leadership roles, there is a nuance of the women leader. For example, being assertive is, given as a leader. You cannot not be assertive. So that is required whether you're a man or a woman. And for women, there are multiple perspectives that we have to take into account when teaching them how to be assertive. So one of the things that we believe is that look at women-focused leadership interventions, which will help them understand themselves better and help them understand where they need to work and support them in that journey. It's not like you give them something, you give them a piece of information and they automatically the switch doesn't come. You need to gently nudge them, push them, you need to support them, you need to have a mentor. So all this needs to happen. Now, of course, things are becoming even more interesting in the coming years. So while a lot of focus is on the women leadership, similarly we have to look at all the diversity elements in the same way, right? There are people with a lot of skill set but who are lagging behind because they don't fit into the mold of what a leader is. So we need to support them. But I think one of the things we need to do as individuals is to see how can we encourage more women. How can we, if you are part of a meeting and you notice that the women are not speaking up or somebody is not speaking up, make sure you encourage them to speak up.
Correct.
That's just one of the tips. There are so many other things that we can do. How we recognize people, what we consider as leadership competencies, a lot of other things. But at an individual level, each of us have a responsibility to encourage more women leaders and make them aspire for more. This is another problem I am seeing, that women tend to dilute their aspirations. They tend to say that this is enough, I can manage my family, I can manage my work. I don't want to grow because if I grow, I won't be able to manage, So let me be where I am. So you need to start pushing that and say that you can't be where you are because, it's understood, right? If you're stuck in one place for too long, you become redundant. Nobody looks at you saying that this person's going to do something different, and they're going to look at you and say, isn't that a very expensive resource to be in the same place for a long time? So we need to challenge that they are happy, they're content. I think a lot of the women say they're happy and they're content because they think that is appropriate for them, appropriate from society perspective. So challenge that.
Correct. So you rightly pointed out two aspects. We can consider them in two aspects. One is the opportunities given, and one is the opportunities they seek from themselves. That is the thing. So people are ready to give them opportunity, but women at some point in time they feel like contented at once. So they also think that if they get into a entrepreneurial journey or maybe on a leadership role, they have to sacrifice their family life. So that is the kind of fight in their mind itself. So they need to come out from that also, because there are women who are doing great in both the aspect, like family also, as well as they are good on leadership role as well. So that is only a mindset. Once you grow that mindset, once you grow with that horizon, the things would be in place.
It's the or and the and mindset. We've been taught or, either this or that. But actually the mindset is and this and that. You can have.
Correct. You can do both. Yeah. Right. So with this, moving on to the next one. So what shift do we need to adopt so that we get more women leaders in coming times?
The shift is be mindful that we are actually encouraging enough women leaders. So I'm not a big fan of statistics. Numbers, our diversity ratio is at this percentage. That doesn't say much. And this goes, like I said, it goes beyond just women leadership. It goes into the inclusion space. So it is not just about giving opportunities. It is also making sure they are part of the conversations, that they belong where they should be.
True.
So even one of the trends that I think was quite obvious, it was written about quite a bit, is that even when women get those roles, they are not able to succeed as well because they are excluded from a lot of the conversations, a lot of the situations. So the mindset shift as organizations or as a society is to make sure that anyone who is not naturally a part of that group has to be brought in. And we have to make sure that you give a space for that person to belong in that group. So if you say you have a woman leader, but you don't include her in your outings, or you have a lot of business conversations in your outings, you're
Correct.
naturally excluding them.
Correct.
So how do you be mindful that this is not the place? A key person in our group is missing, and we're talking about something that will affect them as well.
True.
So that's where now, if you notice the word, the terminology started with diversity, then diversity inclusion, then diversity equity inclusion, and now the last letter has come in. I hope the last. It includes belonging. How can we make sure that people who are part of the organization, people who are part of the system, people who are part of the group are belong? I mean, they belong to that.
Right.
So I think that's the activity that we all need to focus on.
Correct. You rightly pointed out onto it. So first thing is mindset of the organization and mindset of the person is equally important. So like organization is giving opportunity, you should also be ready to take the opportunity, and also you should perceive yourself as a leader, and you should like take it as a challenge that you want to actually grow onto that level, because there are very few women who are ready for that challenge. One thing is that once you are ready, then you need to build on many things, and corporate politics is also one thing which I'd like to highlight here, because many women are not included in those type of things, and they are excluded from internal politics, and they are sufferers of the internal politics as well. So what is your point of view onto it?
Yeah, I think you have to be smart about it. I've seen my share of corporate politics in my corporate stint, and I don't think I was ever excluded. You have to be smart about it. You have to know, and there women have a knack to intuitively know what is happening. They just need to connect the dots and work towards it. One way is that, of course, and the second way is also find a sponsor in the organization. Sponsor is not somebody who will pay you money, but somebody who is talking about you, who is pushing your case, even when you're not there.
Correct.
And that's the thing where in organizational politics, most times you lose out because you're not part of that conversation. But if you have I don't want to use the word powerful, but a sponsor who really others also accept, it is taken care of.
Correct.
That's another way to approach it.
Kind of networking only.
Yeah, networking starts there, mentoring, find the right mentors in the organization. And if you know that you are not part of the politics, find a way to be part of it. I mean, not engage in it, not actively start politicking, but actually be clear what is really happening, under the ground. Know it, learn it. So as they say, if you want to beat them, you have to join them first. So I think you have to be smart about it. And those are techniques and tricks that we try to pass on through such, so in Women Inclusive in Technology, we run a leadership program, accelerated leadership program for women, and we specifically talk about these topics. They are, taboo topics. People don't like to talk about organizational politics.
Right.
Or they don't like to talk about the fact that you have to say no. Women don't say enough no, and therefore they're taken for granted. So we talk about these very specific things in these programs. So my thinking is that you can't wish them away. You can't say that we should have an organization with no politics. It doesn't happen. As long as there are 2 people or 3 people, actually not 2. If there are 3 people in an organization, there will be politics. It's part of how humans work. So you can't wish it away. So how do you work with that system? Is the thing that we try and support and help women leaders in.
Correct. That is the only way you can prove that you are strong enough to handle the things well. Right. So coming back to you again, so are you an introvert or an extrovert kind of a person while meeting people or facing audiences? What is the plus or minus of the same?
I'm an extrovert. There's no doubt. I draw energy from people I meet. Not like a vampire, but like somebody who genuinely gets inspired by people I meet. So
Correct.
The advantage, of course, it helps me in my networking. It helps me connect with absolutely new people. The disadvantages, I find myself in multiple things at the same time. There are too many things happening in my life all the time.
Correct.
So
that is good sometimes, and sometimes it is not that good also.
yeah. So that's the disadvantage I can think of. You're
Correct.
you're required everywhere. You're required in that group and in this group and in that group. And as an extrovert, you don't feel like excluding anything. You don't feel like saying no to something because it's equally exciting.
Correct.
So that's the disadvantage.
True. So that's really wonderful. Being an extrovert sometimes is beneficial, sometimes it is odd too, because everybody is talking about you, everybody is talking to you. So that is both. So sometimes beneficial, sometimes not. So if I talk about support you got from your journey, like you got in your journey from the people around. So who were the people supported you the most?
The men in my life, my father, my husband, my father-in-law, they are the biggest supporters for me. Of course, my mom has always been a supporter. She's a little different, I think, from her society, but she's always wanted me to be independent. So that support was there. But over and above that, I have had people who rejoice in my success. They really champion for me, or not champion, they cheer me. Sorry, they are the cheerleaders. Of course, I've had great mentors in all my jobs. I've had wonderful mentors, wonderful managers who I've figured out how to work with. So I know how to work with them, and they know how to work with me. So I've learned from them as well. If I start naming, I think I'll be unfair. If I miss out anybody, it will be unfair. But there are some amazing individuals in the
Right.
ecosystem that I'm even today that I'm part of. A lot of people inspire and support.
Great. So, it is wonderful to have people as mentor, people as support, and they really help you when you really need the help. So, if I talk about motivation and inspiration, how you get your motivation and inspiration from?
I think curiosity support helps me with that because I'm very curious about the other person. I'm very curious to learn from others, and therefore I get inspired. So it's very difficult for me to bucket people and say, oh, this person's like this, they're like this, and that. Although I, as an HR, am very tuned to understanding preferences, personalities, and all that stuff, I still take each individual as a different person. So I get inspired by that. For that, I think the fundamental thing is I'm very curious. I ask a lot of questions. I try to understand where they're coming from, where they're headed. A lot of my recent inspiration has been through learning. So I'm part of last 5 years when I started my own entrepreneurial journey. I think the biggest mistake anybody can make as a consultant is assuming that you know everything. So you are the consultant, so you know everything. That's all. So I have constantly been learning new techniques, new concepts, and whenever I'm part of, most of the time I don't do a lot of online learning. I do some, but most of it I'm in a classroom. A classroom meaning even online classroom. So I get peer learners, and I get connected to a few of them, and we tend to then motivate each other. So this is actually happened for me. My coaching certification was in 2019, and I still have a group of people from that coaching group I'm connected to with almost every 2 days. We are either messaging or calling and updating what's happening in our lives or where we are stuck. Let's say I'm feeling a little low. I just need to speak to that person, and they will remind me of my purpose and remind me of where I need to. So I get a lot of inspiration and motivation from that as well. So
Right.
peer learners, people on the same journey, they motivate me a lot.
Correct. And learning is a thing which never stops and which keeps you hunger for learning more and exploring more.
If you see my 2023 learning goals, it's a bit eclectic. Plus, at the same time, I really don't know if I'll achieve them, but at least I have a plan that I want to do these things in my learning. So I don't have business goals, like I want to make this much money here, but I have learning goals.
That's really wonderful because once you start learning and exploring things, money thing would always be sorted out. You will definitely get money. So nobody can stop you with that. So that's wonderful. And now if I talk about your take on success, what do you think it look like to you?
So I hope it doesn't sound cliche. To me, success is being able to enjoy the small moments. So success is, for example, if I want to watch a movie, I have the affluence, I have the bandwidth to be able to just stop everything and watch that movie.
Right.
If I want to enjoy with my family, or if I want to meet up with my friends, and I can do that without having to worry about, if I do this, then I cannot do that. Then I cannot have success. Then it is not success enough. So being at a stage in your life where you are able to make choices that give you joy is success to me. So very simple. Last week there was a film festival here in our city, and I was able to just stop everything that I'm doing and go watch movies. I think that's a definition of success. I mean, how many people can do that?
That's really wonderful. So we are moving on to the last one. What is the message or advice you would like to make to our audience, listeners, and viewers?
Know yourself, know how to push yourself. Just knowing yourself, and you say, oh, I'm like this, and just poo-poo, don't do that. Say that, okay, this is my limit. How do I push that? What else can I do to make a difference? That's possibly my message.
Correct. Because having goals is one thing, and striving for them to achieve them, like to push yourself to like be on that race, not exactly race, but to achieve what you desire for. So that is a thing which everybody should look for. And on this note, I must say it was really wonderful having you here, and you have shared so many things which were really wonderful and definitely useful though. And I must say I'm looking forward to hear more from you again soon, very soon. Thank you so much, Aditi, for your time. Wonderful having you here.
Thank you so much, Jitendra, and I'm equally inspired by your this part of what you're doing, because I think it's a great way to not just get inspired but also share that message and make people think about how they are contributing. So great job on this. Continue doing it. I will be watching all your YouTube videos even going forward. I did watch a few earlier also. So
And also, I have started a discussion forum on Sundays. So probably I pick a topic and I invite two experts on that, and we discuss about certain topic. So to share awareness and knowledge with people. So that is also an initiative which I recently started. Probably I'll call you there also. We would be talking about women leadership more in detail, because this was a platform to share your story, how you did it, what all you did it. So on that platform, we would be talking exclusively on how we can create next level women entrepreneurs or maybe women leaders. So looking forward to it very soon. Thank you so very much, and I'll also share your social media link along with this interview so that people can be in touch with you, take your help, guidance.
Sure.
So
I'll be
guys,
happy to help in.
sure. So guys, don't forget to check that out too. And thank you so very much everyone for watching and listening. I hope you all must have gathered a lot of information and enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good time. Thank you and bye bye.